Hello and welcome back to the Out of Spec Bits channel. Today I have Jeebs. Jeebs, earlier this month you got a new Juniper Model Y. What are your first impressions?
Uh, First impressions are it's just really well built. It's solid, and I gotta say, unfortunately, since I've bought my original Model Y, I've bought the Model 3 Performance, I got the Rivian. I've become kind of numb to this kind of thing. It's like, okay, this is the new car. You're gonna start making the videos on it. And you don't sometimes take the time to appreciate what you're doing and how solid the car. You try to go, oh, well, is this so? Uh, Overall, the new Model Y is excellent, as I've said in my videos. They've fixed everything that was wrong with it in terms of having a rough ride, being loud in the cabin, and then they've also improved everything that was great with it, like the sound system and the infotainment and the cameras and all of that stuff. Even the screen is 15.4 inches compared to 15 inches, and it's a little brighter. So they've done so many little things that make a really big deal. The silver lining that they've put on the roof, it kind of has that purple hue to it, like a Mercedes-Benz S-Class. And I did efficiency testing yesterday, and it's about 85 degrees here in Phoenix, and you can like feel nothing coming through the roof. So they've improved all of that, which is great. The letdown of it to me is that they haven't done anything to the battery and the charging. And I kind of look at that like, Tesla led by saying, okay, we're going to build electric cars, and also we're going to build out a charging infrastructure so you can charge and use these cars however you want. Kind of like what Rivian's in the early stages of doing right now, which is great to see. So I'm kind of, I mean, they said nothing about the battery, so there were no expectations there, but I tested it, and it's like, um, I feel like they could have really killed it. Now, I also think that the launch edition, in a way, is the worst Model Y that's out because they're giving you all the things that are great. They're giving you free paint upgrade, wheel upgrade, um, full self driving, interior, color choice, whatever you want. That's all great. But I think with the rear wheel drive model and not being forced to buy full self driving, they're going to come up with a much cheaper version that has all of the same features. So, for someone like me that makes videos, I think it makes sense to get it and be testing it, be in the front of it. Um, but ultimately, for the average consumer, I'd say kind of hang on and see what's going to happen, see what they
Yeah.
come out.
So you made like 240, maybe more videos about your old Model Y?
Yes. I don't think anyone has covered it to the extent I have, like, not even close. And that's just kind of what I do. Previous to making videos about Tesla or Rivian or whatever, I made videos about my Ford Focus ST, and I made 165 videos on that. And then before that, I had my Civic Si. So I love cars. I just love them. I'm a traditional enthusiast. I love driving manual transmissions. I would own a gas car again. I'm not someone that's trying to push the agenda of saving the planet or anything like that. They're just like Teslas that I make videos on. They're just good cars. They're safe. They're fast. Rivians, safe, fast. Like they're just cool cars. Um, and yeah, so I made 240 videos at least on that. I just looked at the playlist the other day and have covered every aspect of it. And it's the Model Y is a great car not because it's electric, it's just a great car. It's a great vehicle. And the same goes for the Model 3.
Yeah, I guess that would make more sense for you to like upgrade, right? Trying to create more content about the new Model Y.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I'm going to sell my older Model Y and just I've created an audience that enjoys to hear what I have to say about it, and it just kind of makes sense for my business. And I personally enjoy it as a vehicle, as far as putting my family in it and them being safe and being able to use the features such as the remote climate control and things like that. If you go into the grocery store, leave the car running and cool, so you put your kids in, and it's good to go. So there are things like that when you have kids later in life too. I always think about like the rollover chance of a rollover happening is
Right.
far lower in an electric vehicle. And I really wouldn't, as much as I would like to have like a BMW X3M, those are on my radar. I just love those for whatever reason. Um, this is just as quick, far more efficient, cheaper to run, um, and safer. So, there's things that you weigh out, but yeah, no, I mean, I legitimately like it as a vehicle, and you couldn't make that many videos on it if you didn't actually like it. They're really solid.
Awesome. And of course, right, I'm sure everyone's familiar with Jeeves, but I will have his videos linked in the description as well for those who are curious. But how long had you been driving your previous Model Y for?
Um, Coming up on 5 years. So I got
Wow.
it in 2020. It's a 2020 long range. I got it for I think it was $48,000. There was like an initial because it was right in the middle of COVID or like at the beginning of COVID, and they did like a $3,000 decrease because they weren't sure about sales and all this stuff. So I've seen the Model Y go from 48,000, the long range, to 65,000, back down to like 48 ish where it's currently at. After the launch edition is 60, but I mean it's if it wasn't, it would be about that 48 range. So I've seen it go through all the waves, and yeah, through all that, it's been really solid. I've had no major issues with it. I got holes. I replaced two tires because I got holes in them. I cracked a windshield. I cracked a roof. Windshield replacements, $1,300. Roof replacements like $1,640. Both of those were covered by zero deductible glass insurance.
Nice.
Um, the seats clean extremely well on the older models. I still think the older model is a great value. Even the new ones, I saw um, something on Twitter today. They're going for like $35,000 for the performance 2025s. So there's really good deals out there on them. I think that this new one, the one benefit that it has, it seems to be delivering on its real world range better than the outgoing model. And I'll keep testing that, but that's what I'm seeing in the numbers that I'm getting.
Yeah, I'll definitely gonna look out for that video. I mean, just off the surface, how much of a difference do you think there are between the two in terms of real world accuracy?
I would say it's 10-ish%.
Wow.
So it's pretty significant.
Yeah.
Um, I think it is enough. And again, I'm in the early stages of testing this, but I think it's enough to where people will say, well, it depends how fast you're going, that's for sure. I'm talking about 70 miles per hour. If you're going 70 miles per hour, I think it's enough of an improvement that people will say, "Oh yeah, it pretty much gets its range." Like my Rivian pretty much knocks it out of the park in terms of range. Like it will easily clear 300 miles of range. I have a uh, not a long range, dual motor, large pack, 341-mile range, and I'm pretty sure I could get very, very close to that in my experience. So that's been like the one downside of Tesla consistently, but I think they've gotten much better. I don't know if that's because of EPA standards being tighter, but whatever it is, they're better.
Okay, that's really good to hear. Was there anything that stood out to you between your driving your old Model Y to then driving the new Model Y that was like, oh, this is a different experience?
I just the quietness of the cabin. It's like really plush. I can listen to podcasts at a much lower volume. Is one thing that I've noticed. That's like, oh, I can turn this way down and still hear it going 75 miles an hour. Um, this is a small detail, but I do notice it is when you're braking at speeds like under 5 miles per hour, it's using regen, and it's a weird feeling because it's not the brakes clamping; it's like a mesh. They've described it. The Tesla engineers at some point described it in a video, but I can feel that at lower speeds. I love the front camera, like especially in my garage here, like pulling up, I can see exactly. Like I know the second it crosses this little curb down here that like I'm in, it's safe. Like the front camera is amazing. I hope they put that on the Model 3 here as an update soon. Um, so that's all been really good. The power seats in the back going up and down, just a nice like luxury feature. Sound system's amazing. So it also, the other thing is my old Model Y has the acceleration boost. So 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds. This is 4.1 seconds because it also the launch edition also comes with an acceleration boost. It feels significantly quicker throughout the whole power band. It just feels more responsive. So I'm curious. I'll be testing that as well. But that's another thing where it just the suspension's so nice. Like it has great travel in it. Um, it's just kind of bounces up the road. It's sportier feeling because I
Okay.
just had a Tesla loaner. It's sportier feeling than a Model S Plaid with an air suspension, but then it's also obviously much softer than the outgoing Y. So they've just there's like nothing you could complain about anymore, unless you want to say that it doesn't charge quick enough for road trips. But again, if you're just driving this on a daily basis, plugging in at home, going to work, I mean, you're gonna love it. Like the autopilot, full self driving, it's really well done.
Yeah, Tesla software has been pretty consistent and say the most capable in the US.
Mhm.
Compared to your Model 3, right? You have the new Model 3 Performance, that is, and then
Yeah,
you got this new Model Y. Comparing the two, I mean, of course, Model Y, SUV, sedan, but those being next generation Teslas, how do you think the two compare against each other?
I would look at it like you could look at it like a BMW 3 Series and a BMW X3. It's like, okay, what is your use case going to be? Like, do you have kids? Do you need to use the trunk a lot? Do you need the extra space? You have to go with the Model Y. Um, the Model 3 is a great commuter, still has a ton of space in it. I I think I think if I were to choose, I would probably go with the Y because it still handles really well. You have a ton of extra space. Um, I think for me, the Y is the way to go. Just the space. You're not. It costs a little bit more. I don't know. I think I would go
Mm.
with the Y simply because of the space. It's still fast. Um, but both are excellent. Like if you just like the three better, then go with
Right.
that. But you kind of can't go wrong with either.
What do you think had who do you think had better improvements, the 3 or the Y over the old generation?
Probably the Y.
Okay.
I think the Y was tough because it's a more open cabin. So you have so much echo. That's another thing is even the material that they've used in the back of the Model Y, where the old plastics were, they've made that like a soft, like roof liner material that's black, so you wouldn't even like notice it's not plastic. There's no echo in the cabin, so they had to, I feel like, do so much more sound deadening to control the cabin in that
Mhm.
thing. Whereas the three has a closed off trunk, it's a typical sedan. The Y is like an open air hatchback. So I think the improvements of in the Y are more significant. I think they had to do a lot more to make it as good as it was. I think the three had a bit of an advantage um, up front, and the three also had. When did that come out? 2017. You could take delivery,
Yeah,
so it had
27.
three years of improvements before the Y was even existed. So
Right.
um, yeah, but both are just really good right now. I'm curious to see what else they can do.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how Tesla improves with the next generation S and X, which they've kind of teased and talked about just a little bit. And something to kind of go over that you just mentioned was that the powertrain, the battery charging hasn't changed a whole bunch. And I would like to see Tesla start to innovate in that part of the world again. I mean, we have so many high voltage EVs. Porsche's doing its thing. Hyundai, Kia are doing their thing. Lucid's doing their thing. We have so many high voltage EVs coming out of China. It'd be nice to see Tesla kind of fill in that part with better charging.
Right. Yeah, like really, and sometimes stay away from saying, "Hey, you guys need to do this." Now, I've never designed a car. I can't build a car. I can't even type on a keyboard without looking at what I'm typing, okay? So I'm not an engineer. So I try to stay away from Tesla needs to do this. But I think you're right in a way that they could really separate themselves. I think when was that battery day years ago? I remember Elon was on stage. He's like, they'll have 10% more capacity and 10% less weight. If you do the math on that, I did the math on that at the time, and that equated to a 400-mile Model Y. Where's that?
Right.
That like where is all of that? And the charging hasn't changed since 2020 or 2017. And yeah, you're right. Like Porsche, the Taycan is incredible. The what is it, 350 kilowatt max on the Ionics and the Kias. And you know, the other thing is, because I'm not an engineer and I don't understand this, do those higher charging speeds wear the battery more over time? Do the higher temperatures and the higher
Right.
voltages, is there a reason that Tesla has held back on that? Or is it because Tesla realizes they are already far ahead, at least in the US market? There's China is ridiculous what they have going on there. Um, so, I don't know what the answer is, but in the US market, at least, it's good for like 90% of your driving, 95% of your driving. It's more than enough. So
Right.
maybe they're not that incentivized, and maybe there's not a lot of enough competition here yet to push them, because Lucid costs more.
Right.
The Taycan starts at $100,000. Rivians start at $69,000. I don't know, but I do hope that in the near future they just decide to, like, okay, we're gonna make the Model Y charge. I think the golden number for people, if you think that EV is the future and all of that, the golden number is these things need to charge like 10 to 80%, or 10 to 90% or whatever, in like 10 minutes. Like
Yeah.
that's it. I think, and I'm certain it's possible. And I don't know if the technology is there yet. I don't know if some Chinese EVs have it,
Yeah.
but um, yeah, I think that's the golden number. But we'll see.
Yeah. Just talked about BYD there. They have their EV which charges, I think it was like 10 to 80 in like 4.5 minutes or something. Like
Yeah,
something nuts. But at that point, right, the cost, and then you also got to look at what are the long-term effects
yeah,
on the battery. But I guess Tesla realizes, like, right now it works. And again, maybe
yeah,
the competition isn't there yet. There is no incentive to really push beyond their limits, push beyond
yep,
what they currently have.
yeah, yeah.
Now, are there any, I mean, kind of touched on this a little bit, are there any larger letdowns or things you expected to be better in this new generation that weren't?
Letdowns. Yeah, I think like the main thing is just this still has the old battery in it. They had to improve everything that they improved, and they did a great job of doing that. So I commend them for that. A ton of work went into the aerodynamic efficiencies that they did, the brake blending with regen. I love aerodynamic efficiency improvements. I'm amazed. It's like, I don't know how you can take something that engineers worked years and years and years on to make, and then they make it better, and then they'll make it better, and it'll be better. It's amazing to me. Um, but yeah, I can't say that anything was a huge letdown to me. I would like to see more range and better charging, but um, I don't know. That's there's a lot more that goes into that than the tech not just being there financially, a new battery, because they know how good these batteries are in terms of longevity, things that fail, little improvements that are made year to year that are not noted anywhere. Um, Years ago, when I was working on my Ford Focus ST, mine was a 2016, and I was working on a 2015, and I was changing out the shift bushings. And the 15's shift bushings were different than the 16's, like significantly different, different parts, and that was not noted anywhere on any press release. So manufacturers are doing so much behind the scenes that aren't even worthy of noting to make cars more efficient or cheaper to repair, or fixing parts that broke. Sometimes they make parts cheaper that break, and they do all kinds of things. But I'm sure there's a ton in these batteries that they've already figured out, and they're pretty good, that they're like, why would we risk a new technology that we don't know as much about initially? Maybe they can boost sales later with a new battery. So, but overall, I mean, it's very good.
Yeah, I mean it's a Model Y. I mean people, Tesla has gone a bit controversial lately, but the Model
Yeah,
Y is the, I would argue, the most well-rounded EV that you could buy today, and that goes for either the old gen, and we've heard it time and time again that the new gen has kind of improved on all of the things that the old gen lacked, and yeah, it just makes more
Yeah,
sense.
and the other thing that I say is it's like, and I said this earlier, it's not a good EV, it's just a good car. Like it provides performance and efficiency that no other car on earth can provide because you're giving something up. Like I said earlier, BMW X3M gets like 15 miles per gallon city. This will at 45 miles per hour go for 400 miles. You know, so you and then this isn't as fast as an X3M, but the Model Y Performance will be a little faster, and you're still getting efficiency, like insane efficiency. And that's what people forget. That's what I always try to say. They're like, "Oh, well, Teslas are expensive," and they are. But if you were to get the equivalent gas car's performance, acceleration up to it, handling, well, they cost more, at least the same, or if not more.
Yeah. And kind of on that Model Y performance, right? You have the Model 3 performance. I've watched your videos about that. That
Mm.
I want one.
Yeah,
Financially doesn't make sense, but awesome
yeah.
car. What do you want, and what do you expect to see in the next Gen Model Y performance?
Well, I'm almost certain it's going to have an adaptive suspension just like this has. They have to have that. I was kind of hopeful that they would put that in the Model Y long range, but they didn't. They also don't really need it after driving it. It's like, this is really good. So I'm hoping for um, I'm hoping for the adaptive suspension. I'm also hoping that they bring back the performance upgrade pack. They used to offer that years ago on the Model 3 to where you could get a Model 3 performance with that looked just like a regular Model 3. The skinnier wheels, it just looked, you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
Um, I hope they offer that because, like I did with this Model 3, I increased the range by 40 miles because I put a square setup of 18-inch wheels on it. So if you could get the range and the performance of a Model Y performance, that's huge. And then offering the performance upgrade pack could be like a $3,500 pack or whatever for forged wheels and a staggered setup. Um, I think that would be good if Tesla brought that back because some people don't care about the wheel. They want the thicker wheels so they can drive in the Northeast year round, but then they want the performance that is faster than everyone. So
Right.
I'm hoping that they offer that. I'm doubtful that it's going to happen. But if anyone from Tesla is watching, please bring that back. Um, so I think that's a great package. That should be offered for the 3 and the Y. No doubt. That should be in the Tesla shop.
And kind of talking about your fleet, do you think you'll keep this launch edition long term? Do you think maybe you'll get a performance or an all-wheel drive in the future?
I plan on keeping my long range for years. I don't plan on getting rid of it anytime soon. I'm going to sell my Model Y, my old Model Y long range here soon. So if anybody wants that, send me an email. Rivian is gone at the end of this year, but I plan on getting another one. I don't know if it'll be R2 um, or R1S. I don't know.
We'll have to talk about that. I want to know what the end of lease process is like because it's going to be the
Yes.
first time those leases are ending.
Yeah, I'm very curious about that as well because I went to service the other day and they were like, "Hey, your tires are I have 14,000 miles on it. Your tires are at 4.5 and 5 millimeters. I think it's millimeters, whatever, all the way around." They're like, "We should probably replace two of them." And I was like, "Okay, how much is it?" They're like, "It's $600 per tire." So it's
Oh,
$2,400, and I'm going to get about 20 20-ish thousand miles out of them. Um, so that's not great. And I'm going to have to you can't turn the car in with tires that they can't like resell. So I'm
right.
going to have to spend $2,400 at the end of this lease just to give it back to them, plus the disposition fee, which is like, I can't remember what it is, but I think it's like $400 or $500. So almost $3,000 just to turn it in. I think. I won't know until I actually go through and do it. But that's it's so much money. So yeah, we'll see what we do at the end of it. Again, I don't know because I haven't done it, but that's what I think is going to happen.
Okay. And what about the build quality of your Model Y, old Model Y versus the new Model Y, especially in the beginning of getting that 2020 Model Y and how, as it's aged, do you think this new Model Y will age better? Kind of a three
Yes,
question.
I definitely do. The build quality on this is excellent. And the other thing is we found some paint nibs and things like that. I took it to my friend Tyler at Dynamic Tint to kind of analyze it. So it's good to take it to him because he sees thousands of cars on an annual basis. Him and a detailer, they go over them. It's all brands have these essentially the same issues. Tesla gets like put under a microscope. I made a joke the other day. They said, "Why do Teslas get put under a microscope?" And it's like because most Tesla owners drove a MacBook Pro before their Tesla, because like the MacBook, the build quality of MacBook's
Yeah.
perfect, but they're building cars. So yeah, so I think the build quality is very good. The original Y, like even there's welds that like yellowed. You look at the gaps and you're like, well, no wonder this thing was so loud. They've made so many improvements, and I think the three and the Y build quality issues are a thing of the past. I just took my three performance in for service. The suspension was squeaking, the wheel was squeaking, and my rear sub was like it sounded like it was blown out or vibrating, and they like replaced all the suspension parts and fix like they fixed it and it's excellent. My new Y has not had anything like that. So I would say to people, um, the three and the Y, I think all the stuff has been worked out, and service is more in tune with things that are consistently happening and just doing the right thing and fixing it. So I've had no issues with that.
Nice. I can't remember if we touched on this, but for people who are on the fence about getting a new Model Y versus an old Model Y,
Yeah.
what do you think they should do? I mean, the prices on used ones are uh, kind of great now.
They're so good. That's like the previous, we'll call it the previous Model Y because every time I say in a video right now, mine's a 2026. It is a 2026. That's what it is. It's what the VIN says. When I called my insurance, I'm like, hey, it's a 26. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, just type the VIN in. She types it in. She's like, oh, it is a 26. I'm like, yes. So so the old models, I mean, the 24s and the 25s, or I guess the 25 we'll say, because that's what would be in inventory, they're still really good vehicles and you're saving a ton of money. Also, used cars, you save a ton of money there. And if you can buy it used private sale, you don't pay tax on it in Arizona. There's other states, I don't know what they are, you have to look it up. But I just, I always caution people when I'm making these videos and reviewing cars. People will review like $150,000 cars, and they'll be like, "This is great. Everybody needs one of these." And I'm like, "This is ridiculous. Like, it's $100,000. What are you talking about? I hope it's great." So I always caution people to like make sure. What I say is these are not special cars in terms of they're not like a Civic Type R. They make a limited amount of them and they're kind of hard to get. And then they stop making them and you can't get it unless it's used or whatever. These, you can go online and press order at any time and you will get the exact spec that you want. So be in a position that you can financially handle it and put a lot down so you don't get underwater financing it. Because it's just like the dumbest thing you could do in terms of putting financial stress on yourself that you don't need. The other thing I'll say to people is get the car that you want. That's going to make you happiest long term. So if you, like you, for example, if you want the Model 3 performance, don't settle because you're like, okay, right now I can afford the long range. That you're gonna then always every time you see a Model 3 performance, you go, oh man, you're gonna be like, that was the wrong move. So just wait and get the car that you want when you can comfortably afford it. That's what I always tell people to do, and that's kind of skimmed over by a lot of people online. And I don't know, like I have the same. My job is YouTube, but I have to look at each of these cars and be like, okay, does this cost too much or whatever? So yeah.
Nice. How does your family feel about the new Model Y? I mean, you got kids, right?
I do. They're young. My daughter just said, "This is cool," and that's that's as much as she says. My wife, she's gonna do a. We're gonna do a video. She drove it the other night, and she came back and said, "I have thoughts," and I said, "Hold those. Hold the thoughts. We'll make a video." So she'll be doing a video soon, um, talking about what she thinks about it. But yeah, I have a video. This lady the other day was like, I was looking at the Sentry mode, and she was standing in front of my car, like awkwardly, just standing. And I'm like, I'm watching it, like, what is she gonna do?
Yeah.
'Cause there's no logo on the front. So, and she's looking all around it, and then she like kind of creeped to the back of the car and goes to this like looks, and then it's could see that it said like Tesla underneath it.
Yeah.
It's funny that it doesn't have a logo on the front. The light bar is really cool. It has the matrix LEDs, so it'll dim the lights for oncoming traffic, so it doesn't blind them. Um, so yeah, they. I don't know actually what my wife thinks so far, so we'll have to see in the video.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. I watch your videos in my free time, so
I
this is
appreciate it.
just I'm excited to see what the ownership of the new Model Y is like, especially long term. Of course, we'll have you back on, but if you guys are interested, I'm sure you guys know Jeeves. His videos will be linked in the description as well to learn more. But yeah, any other more notes, man? Anything else?
Not really. I'm going to be doing a ton of road trips this summer in the Model Y to really push it. And be doing some similar routes that I've done in the past and take the average of those routes and compare it to this new one to see on average what the improvement has been. And then testing it in like high heat situations because in Phoenix it gets up to 120 in June.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I just a lot of testing and comparisons and things like that, and accessory reviews that I've been doing for years on my channel. Yeah, I'm really excited for the new content on this. And then yeah, it kind of stinks selling my old Model Y because I've put on camber arms, I have forged wheels, I did the unplugged performance suspension, I did a full PPF on it, and sway bars upgrade. So I have like 15,000 dollars worth of upgrades on it
Yeah.
that that are on that thing, and I actually really like how it looks and drives in a way. So it's yeah, it stinks to get rid of it, but it just doesn't make sense to have four vehicles right now, and like the insurance on those, I need to add it all up. But insurance, so insurance on the, I don't know what it is on the new Model Y. So my Rivian, I think it's $122 a month.
Yes.
I can't off the top of my head. I don't know what it is on the new Y, but I pay in 6 month increments, and
Okay.
yeah, so I don't know what the hell I'm talking about right now. Just going on
No,
rant.
do you think you'll do any of that to your launch edition Model Y, your Juniper new Model Y?
See, I mean, the old Model Y, like everyone complained about the suspension, so I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna get an aftermarket suspension and see if we can fix this. Um, as of right now, I'm probably gonna do wheels and tires at some point to see what we can, because if you put a forged wheel on it, it's going to feel even better, just less resistance when you're turning.
Right.
It'll be smoother, so that'll be cool. And then doing different tire and efficiency tests on it. But as far as suspension, unless I want to lower it, I mean, the suspension is so good. So, but I'm open to it. I mean, we'll see what what companies come out with. If there's something better, that's good content to provide to people, in an unbiased way. So yeah, it's just the whole process. So, yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for joining. As I said, have to have you
Yeah.
back on. I'll give you a text. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you've had Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. My name is Isaiah. That's Jeeves. This is the Out of Spec Bits channel, and I will see you guys in the next one.